The altcoin market has been suffering quite a bit this week, and this is not because Bitcoin, Ethereum or Solana is going down. Actually, this is specifically to the altcoins. The altcoins, relatively speaking, are getting sold off. Now, Pudgy Penguins has been rather stable. It has been able to outperform most other altcoins. The question is there still enough upside potential? Should we buy Pengu now? Let's have a look at the on-chain data, the data most people are not considering. It is quite fascinating because Solana, as a fraction of all of crypto, actually went up. The Solana dominance increased by 11%. Yes, many altcoins on the chain are having a very hard time. But have a look at the most viewed cryptocurrencies in the last 24 hours. There's still a lot of attention on the Pengu token. Now, within the Solana chain, Pudgy Penguins is the largest meme coin. So this is a list of meme coins on the Solana chain. It's got a market cap of 2.3 billion. It's larger than Bonk, it's larger than Trump, and it's also larger than Fartcoin. And so that then raises, of course, the question, how much more upside potential is there really when it's already number one? It always depends on the frame of reference, right? This is now meme coins across all chains, not just on Solana. And here Pengu isn't really that large, as in there's Dogecoin with 36 billion, and again Pudgy Penguins has only a bit over 2 billion. So is there potentially another 18x from here in the best case? Now, Dogecoin has its own blockchain. It's completely separate. But then for most other meme coins, they are tokens on a chain. So on Ethereum or on Solana. So since Pudgy Penguin is already number one on Solana, let's compare this with the number one on Ethereum and see, when we just compare the market caps, how much value is currently on the chains. Is Pengu currently cheap or expensive? Now here's the total value locked on the Ethereum chain. How much capital is currently on ETH? The answer is it's 97 billion. Compare this with Solana. Over here, the total value locked is 11 billion. So Ethereum is roughly 9 times larger than Solana. The largest meme coin on the Ethereum chain is 8 billion. The largest meme coin on Solana is 2 billion. So either Shiba Inu is now comparatively cheap or Pudgy Penguins is comparatively expensive. Because 9 times 2.2, that's roughly 20 billion, and that's much larger than the 8 billion for Shiba Inu. Now, I've been covering Pudgy Penguins for a long time on this channel. There are regular updates through the good times and through the bad times. And there have definitely been very bad times as well. This here is the Pengu token relative to the others market cap. So how is Pudgy Penguins doing relative to all other altcoins? Initially, after launch, it underperformed by more than 80%. Then in April of this year came the turnaround and we saw a nice rally of an outperformance of more than 600%, which now seems to have come at least to a temporary halt. Pudgy Penguins is on the Solana chain, so it just makes sense to also look at the relative valuation to SOL. That's this chart over here, and the dynamics don't look that different. We have a more than 80% decline with a subsequent almost 600% increase. Now, this cross that we see over here, this is when I entered a short position, a relative short position on Pudgy Penguins. I was not that bullish on Pengu at the time. I still have that position open and I want to share why. Because that's how this channel here is different to most other crypto channels. Most crypto channels just promote various cryptocurrencies. Maybe they got money even from the project and they simply say, buy this token. I try to be as objective as possible on this channel and I share what I personally do. And I never take any money from any crypto project. So if you appreciate this, feel free, of course, to give this video a like as well. Now we can extend this idea of Pudgy Penguins being representative of the Solana chain and Shiba Inu being representative of the Ethereum chain. Because there is a good chance that Solana might be outperforming Ethereum again. It used to be much higher, relatively speaking. There could be an upcoming outperformance of 91% if maybe the Ethereum treasury companies don't buy that much more ETH, and if then maybe the narrative rolls over to Solana treasury companies. We've already seen how the attention moved from Bitcoin treasury to now Ethereum treasury. It's not that hard to think about a potential next move to Solana treasury companies. And meme coins, to a degree, are a levered bet on the ecosystem. If you believe in Solana, then maybe Pengu will do better than Shiba Inu. Now this is the long-term chart of Pudgy penguins relative to Shiba Inu. And again, we see a very similar dynamic. There's just so much volatility in the Pengu token. The problem, of course, is if the current rally is over and this is a potential resistance, then the downside is not pretty at all. But is it actually realistic that we're going to see those 70-80% drops again in Pengu relative to Ethereum, relative to Solana, relative to Shiba Inu? Let's have a look at the meme coin space on Solana and what happened historically for many of them. Because meme coin trading is a player versus player game and attention moves around assets. Let's see where those other meme coins peaked and whether or not 2.2 billion is actually a high number, or if you could go to 10 billion, 20 billion, 30 billion. Dogecoin has more than 30 billion in market cap. Let's have a look at Bonk. Bonk peaked out at a market cap of 4 billion and then crashed down all the way to below 1 billion. It happens like this for most meme coins, right? We've got these pump and dumps, we've got the rallies and subsequent crashes, and there is somewhat of a range when the market gets saturated. For Bonk, that upper limit was 4 billion. Let's have a look at Fartcoin. Here the upper billion was close to 2 billion. To be more exact, 2.1 billion. Here's Dog with Head. That peaked at 4.6 billion. Here we've got Popcat that peaked at 2 billion. Then we've got the Peanut token. It peaked at 1.8 billion. And so it seems like that's the range, right? At 2 billion, most meme coins tend to top out. Potentially we can go all the way to 4 billion, but historically no meme coin has gone above 4 billion on the Solana chain. So really the absolute maximum growth for Pengu from here is probably a 2x. At least if history is any indication. We've got plenty of examples where we saw the turnaround even before the 4 billion, where we saw it at around 2 billion, where Pudgy penguins is right now. Short term, the price discovery does not necessarily happen on the spot market, because on the spot market in the last 24 hours on Binance, we only saw 55 million worth of trading volume. More activity happens on the levered bets on the price, on the perpetual futures. So those are derivative contracts. Over here, we had 82 million worth of trading volume. And here's the problem with the Pengu token right now. The short-term capital, the short-term leverage that's currently in the token is rather high, and it tends to deflate right now. It tends to go down. And there is a strong correlation between the spot price and the leverage in the price, the open interest, the bets that are made on Pengu. When the bets on the Pengu price go up, then the spot price tends to go up as well. Once the bets on the price go down, then the spot price tends to go down as well. So there's all this correlation. And right now we are still rather high with the amounts of bets on Pengu. We are above 400 million. Also, the trading volume is still relatively high. And again, there is some correlation between the trading volume on the perpetual futures and the spot price. The more trading volume there is, the higher the price tends to be. And this tends to now go down since the end of July, so for roughly 1 month. In a way, the market is at an equilibrium because the number of long liquidations and short liquidations tends to be rather low. We simply just see how the Pengu token gets less and less attention over time, less and less leverage. And so when we look at charts like this, right, Pudgy penguins relative to the other altcoins, then is it really justified that it's at the upper range here? Wouldn't it be much more likely that we're going to see a deflation again in the medium term decline of the price by maybe 15% or so relative to other altcoins, right? Not in US dollars. This is what I want to stress in videos like this, right? I'm never talking about the US dollar price. I'm always talking about relative performances, because in the end, investing is all about outperformance. We want to get more performance by buying an altcoin compared to just buying Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, because we take on more risk. If we take on more risk, we need to get more return. And so is Pengu now relative to other altcoins a good investment? I am not so sure. We are rather at the higher end of that trading range. Now, don't get me wrong. I do believe that US dollar prices are very likely going to continue to rise, because the stablecoin market cap is going up since October of 2023. So there's more and more money entering the crypto space as a whole. Most of the altcoins, they should over the next months, potentially even years, continue to appreciate. as there are more dollars chasing crypto tokens, of course the tokens should go up. And I do think that short-term Solana has a good chance of outperforming most other cryptocurrencies. The Solana dominance tends to trade in a range. For the last 2 years, there's a potential outperformance of 30%, and this will directly translate into gains for Pudgy penguins as well. But just because the US dollar price of Pengu can go up doesn't mean that it will go up more than Solana. I actually expect the exact opposite. What I think is that Solana will go up by 10, 20, 30% versus the rest of crypto, and Pengu might just stay stable, potentially even get sold off a bit. Thus we see relative underperformance. I will keep my relative valuation trade open. I will continue to bet on Pengu relative to Solana to underperform. I'm not betting on the US dollar price going down. I'm betting on Pengu doing worse than SOL. Now I'm trying to be different on this channel compared to most other channels. Most other channels just say buy asset A or buy asset B and you will make a 10 or 100x return. But most of the time, most people just get wrecked in the process because sometimes there's a conflict of interest, right? The influencer might already own the token, or the influencer might have even gotten paid by the project to talk about the token. But I try to do something different here. I'm trying to show that I'm not just talking, but I'm actually doing. So I opened a capital pool for the members of this community 1.5 months ago. And so far, this capital pool has an annualized performance of 79%. It started on July 10th and so far had only had a maximum drawdown of 2.3%. So that's what I'm actually most proud of. As in, the gains are very, very constant, yet still very high. And the way to achieve those gains is by buying things like this. So this is a relative valuation chart. This is another relative valuation chart. Here is one more. And we're betting on one asset to do worse than the other. So this, for example, is WorldCoin. It's got an expanding token supply. Thus, it tends to underperform Ethereum. This is Ethereum relative to WorldCoin. Over here, we've got the token supply of DYDX. This is a decentralized perpetual futures exchange, also a growing supply. And then we see how Ethereum outperforms DYDX. Or over here, we've got the balancer token. I've talked about this for a long time on this channel. And here is Ethereum relative to balancer. So this is how we can achieve those very high returns by having very little volatility, very few drawdowns, because we cancel out the overall macro development. Yes, it's possible with crypto to double the capital just in a few months, but then also the risk is very different compared to what we are doing here. Because there are times where everything is going up, but there are also times where everything crashes, right? This is a long-term chart of Cardano. This was a crash of 97%. Then we saw a new all-time high, a subsequent crash of 92%. And that's always the problem with trying to chase the next altcoin. There's no protection against the macro environment turning around. But let's have a look again at those relative valuation charts. This again is Ethereum relative to balancer. And at the bottom, we now see the Bitcoin price. So Bitcoin went through an entire bear market, a 75% correction. But at the same time, this relative valuation trade still made money. Let's actually have a look at this on a logarithmic chart. Then we can see the percent changes a bit better. Just have a look at this, right? This is how we make constant gains without these massive drops. And I truly believe that this is the way to really make money in crypto. It's with relative valuation trades. It's just with figuring out, is A better than B or is B better than A? And cancel out the overall macro environment. We don't necessarily want to have too much exposure to the macro, because once we have too much volatility with our portfolio, then it's much harder to bet more capital. So think about this the other way around. Let's say we go for those moonshot bets, right? Let's say we want to make a 10 or 100x return. And let's say every now and then we're actually successful at doing so. The problem is very often those bets do not work out. Thus, we can't bet 10,000, 100,000 or even more dollars on such a bet. We have to do small bets and hope that among many of those bets, maybe one of them makes a multiple X returns. But that means we can't really invest a lot of capital. The lower our volatility is on an asset, the more we can potentially deploy, because then, at least mathematically, it's less risky. The less risk we have, the more we can deploy. The more risk we have, the more the risk of ruin, the more the risk of going down by 80 or 90%, the less we can invest. It's a bit like doing those very small bets, hoping for the best outcome versus actual serious investing where we get nice compounding growth. And so yeah, there is this capital pool. The members get exactly this return right now. I don't just talk the talk, I'm actually showing the world openly how things perform in the open market. And I wonder if the other YouTubers that you're following are willing to do the same. And if they are, is the performance going to look like this? I followed this strategy of relative valuation bets for 4 years now, and because of that I got much more return compared to just buying and holding Bitcoin. Had I dollar cost averaged into Bitcoin, I would have gotten the return indicated here by this gray line, but because I entered relative valuation shorts, I got the return here in black. And so the community is following the strategy as well and sharing their gains over here in this chat. I'm of course sharing my trades as well. So this is July 23rd when I opened a short position on WorldCoin. So that's short WorldCoin and long Ethereum, and then a few days later I closed it with some nice gains. This is just one example. My target with this community is not just to show how great the strategy works and how relative valuation bets is really where the alpha is. My target is not just to make money with that trading. My real target is to create a community where most members make money with the same approach as well. Of course, with the community capital pool, I also take a cut of 10% of the gains, but I think that's still comparatively fair because most other hedge funds, they take 20%, and at the same time, they also charge 2% of the entire principal every year. There's no such charge that I'm doing here for the members. The capital pool has been closed though, so the maximum deposit limit has been reached. There will be a new pool opening at the beginning of next year, but still, you can manually copy trade everything that I do. I share my trades in real time. And while everybody can share testimonials on websites, it can sound like it's cherry picked, right? Maybe the majority of people don't really make money with this. But that's why just today I asked the community members, has Premium helped you improve as an investor? And 87% said yes. Yes, I myself also voted with yes here, so make it maybe 86%. So of course, not everybody is happy. There are people that are still not able to make money. But I think 86, 87% is not too bad of a ratio. If you're willing to learn, if you're willing to follow the content, if you're willing to also implement the risk management strategies, then there's a very good chance that you will be among those 87% as well. I was thinking about this. How can I make this actually as easy as possible for new people to enter here? And what I thought is maybe I try to find an approach to make this with as little risk as possible. As in, I thought maybe there's simply just a bit of content that you have to watch first. Then I share my favorite trade that I have a lot of conviction in. And then after 1 month, if you don't make money with that trade, then I will just refund you the entire membership fee. So really, you don't have any risk with that membership fee. So here's what you have to do. You have to watch 2 videos only. It's how to bet on relative valuations by using perpetual futures on Hyperliquid, and then how to do risk management with relative valuation bets. Those 2 videos are just 1 hour in total. That's all the content you have to follow. Once you've done this, you join the community. So that's different channels on Telegram. And once you're in Telegram, then I will send you my favorite trade. Trades that look very similar to this and this and this, for the same reason, because of token inflation. That's why those tokens tend to do worse than Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana over time. And if you're not making money on a chart like this after 1 month of joining, then of course I'm willing to just refund everything. And with everything, I mean of course the membership fee, which is currently $125 per month. So this is now for the manual copy trading. This is now for learning how to actually make those bets. But if you're interested to be among the first people to join the next capital pool, which will launch at the beginning of 2026, that announcement will be made to the annual members. There will be an additional cost. It will not just be the annual membership, but the annual members will get early access. So feel free to change from monthly to annual if you don't have that much time, but you do have more capital. So that's more of a hands-off approach. If you have at least $10,000, better even more to invest in crypto. Then the annual membership might make sense long term. A link to Premium will pop up directly here on the screen. Just click on that. It will lead you to the website. If it's the very first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish here regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time on YouTube, or see you in Premium. Cheers!